My name is Julie McAvoy, and I've been doing CrossFit and coaching CrossFit for about 6 years. I now have a 3.5-year-old son and a 1-year-old daughter, and over the past years, 2 years, I've done a lot of research and learned a lot of lessons in prenatal and postpartum care. So I did CrossFit throughout both of my pregnancies, and what I didn't realize is that I was actually causing myself diastasis recti through improper loading of the core. So what I'd like to share with you today is a timeline of my recommendations on what women should do as far as exercise goes while they're pregnant and postpartum to keep them safe as we can. So of course there are women that are out there that are going to PR while they're pregnant, and they're also going to lift their personal best 5 months postpartum, but I'm just not going to recommend that because there's no way that we can guarantee that your core is going to recover safely from such a traumatic experience such as childbirth. So when you're pregnant and postpartum, when you're in that pivotal plus or 9 months, the most important thing that you can keep your mind on is your posture. So we want to stack rib cage over pelvis and keep a nice braced core, or at least your rib cage is stacked and in line with your pelvis. A lot of times most people will stand with their tailbone sticking back and their nipple line will be gazing towards the ceiling. A good cue to remember is your nipple line looking at where your belly button's looking. So if we have these two things on the same plane, then our rib cage is down, shoulders are back, and we have a prepared core for everyday life and movement. That's going to contribute the most to your pelvic floor and core health. The next thing that we need to be aware of is how we're breathing. So you don't want to be breathing into your chest, you want to be breathing into your diaphragm. And to do that, you just need to, step 1, get that good posture, and then step 2, just think about when you take a breath in, that pressure coming down into your abdominal cavity, and your pelvic floor should lengthen on the inhale as that pressure goes down with your diaphragm, and it should contract on the exhale as your diaphragm comes back up. So those are the two most important things you can do and be mindful of throughout your entire pregnancy, and it's going to give you the most rewards for your total body and core health during this pivotal moment. Next, we're going to go over scales on this timeline. Now, mind you, this is everything that I'm going to brief to you is my opinion. I've done some extensive research and gone through some education. If you have a question about it, please reach out to me. Of course, you could go what you think is the safest way and not exercise at all during your pregnancy, but actually there's studies out there that find that all the same neurological and biological benefits that exercise play for you also translates directly to the baby's circulatory system and brain health. So exercise is still healthy, we just got to do it in a safe way. So let's get started. Here's our timeline. I'm starting at conception, -9 months. In the middle, we have a baby, a new person, and then 9 months postpartum. This is our entire window that I'm going to talk about. Usually women find that they're pregnant around 6 weeks. Could be sooner, of course. As soon as you find out you're pregnant, you want to take off lifters, and you want to not use the weight belt for the duration of this time. Lifters, when they lift up your heel, they pitch you forward, they pitch the bowl of your pelvis forward, and that lengthens the separation between your rib cage and your pelvis, and it puts too much strain on your linea alba. So we don't want that ever. We want to be in neutral shoes. You want to take off the weight belt because that weight belt provides pressure against your intra-abdominal pressure that's not there. It's a false sense of confidence for your core, and you would be wearing it to get one of those maximal lifts. We're not going for maximal lifts in this safe timeline recommendation. So I'm going to say less than 80% of your max for any lift until you're 9 months postpartum. Next we have when you start to show. This usually is less than your 3-month mark, somewhere around 14 to 20 weeks. When you start to show, the baby moves forward of your pelvic area and it starts changing the dynamic between your rib cage and your pelvis or your core area. So we need to cut out any abdominal flexion or extension exercises. So no flexion or extension. What does this mean? It means no sit-ups, no triple extension on an Olympic lift, no mountain climbers, no kip swing. This includes hollow arch, hollow and arch, yep, those are the kip swing movements. So no more kipping pull-ups, no more butterfly pull-ups, or chest to bars or anything of that fashion. No more kipping muscle-ups. If you can still do a hollow body strict muscle-up, go for it. But we want to take out all of that extreme back bending and crunching because it can put too much pressure on your connective tissue, which are ripened with all of the relaxin hormone and making them really malleable and susceptible to pressure. So we want to manage the pressure system in our core. Okay. So you keep with this framework until you're 3 months away from having the baby. At this point, we're going to move to less than 60 to 50% of your maximal lifts. We're going to carry that all the way to 6 months postpartum. Now, one thing that I forgot to mention earlier is the style of breathing that you're going to use throughout this whole time frame. As soon as you find out you're pregnant, you're going to move to breathing continuously while you're exercising. So no more Valsalva breath or holding and doing a lift. You're going to constantly be breathing in and out. So see my next 2 videos on breathing, inhale, exhale breathing, and just exhale breathing. So you're going to start inhale, exhale method for this whole time until you're in this plus or minus 3 months. And then you're just going to do only exhale method of breathing while you're exercising, while you're exerting yourself. Okay, so check out my next 2 videos on those. What's next? We're also not going to go overhead. So when you're in your 3rd trimester, no more overhead lifts, nothing up overhead. And I can put in the show notes, Julie Wiebe, and she does a really great explanation about this with diagrams. But essentially, because you have baby in front, your rib cage is flared, and when you go overhead, you're exacerbating that rib cage flare and allowing for too much pressure to be going in the front of your core. So instead of doing a press overhead, do a push or a pull. You can do a front rack carry or a farmer's carry. Just don't put anything or pull anything from overhead. Now, you have your baby. What can you do? So you're going to have 2 weeks where you're just acclimating and being with baby and trying to sleep as much as you can. You're at that 6-week mark. This is usually when doctors give you the okay to resume exercise gradually, which is like when you say, I don't know what that means, and you come to this video. So during this 6-week time frame, don't go crazy. Just try and eat as healthy as you can. Clean, whole foods. You're gonna focus on posture and full breaths, using that diaphragmatic breath strategy that I talked about in the beginning of the video. Go for walks. They don't always have to be slow. Towards that 4, 5, 6 week mark, they can be a faster paced brisk walk. Slow down for a minute, speed up for a minute, slow down for a minute. It's okay to get your heart rate up. It's just appropriate to do it in a safe way. Once you get the okay from your doctor to resume exercise gradually, you're going to start with very light to minimal weight and gradually increase up to that 50 to 60% of your weight at that 3-month mark. Again, you're using just the exhale method of breathing while you're under load for this pivotal 6-month time frame. Once you're out of this 3 months postpartum, you can move back to the inhale-exhale method and pick back up your weights, increasing towards 80% of this at this 9-month mark. Again, don't put on your lifters or your weight belt until you're past this 9-month mark and you know that you're safe and secure. Things to be mindful of are symptoms. So these are the symptoms. If you have any of these symptoms throughout your entire timeline, consult a physician. If the physician doesn't help you, or he or she may refer you, go see an internal pelvic floor specialist. They're far and few between, especially in the more rural areas, but you gotta find one because they're the only ones that's gonna be able to diagnose you from inside that vaginal cavity. So the symptoms are pain in your back, your SI joint, pain in your hips, pain in your pubic symphysis, which is the space right between your pelvic bone here in the front, painful intercourse, incontinence, either urinary or fecal incontinence of any degree, diastasis recti that lasts more than 8 weeks postpartum, and that is something that is only an issue if it's deeper than one top knuckle of your finger, and if it's not tense while you're braced correctly, while you're in an exhale position. And finally is prolapse. If you don't know if you have a prolapse, but you think you might, again, go get checked by an internal pelvic floor specialist. So these are my recommendations for how to exercise safely while you're pregnant and postpartum. Please message me if you have any questions. Check out my other videos. Thank you.